Shalom, welcome to Tactically Torah. I am Heath Hayes. Today is day 78 of Read the Bible in a Year, and we are in the book of Judges. We will read Judges chapters 1 through 4. Let's get started. And it came to be after the death of Yehoshua that the children of Israel asked Yahweh, saying, "Who of us should go up first against the Canaanites to fight against them?" And Yahweh said, "Yehuda goes up." Yehuda does go up. See, I have given the land into his hand. And Yehuda said to Shimon his brother, "Come up with me into my allotment, and let us fight against the Canaanites, and I myself shall also go with you into your allotment." So Shimon went with him. And Yehuda went up, and Yahweh gave the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hand, and they struck 10,000 men at Bezek. And they found Adonai Bezek in Bezek, and fought against him, and struck the Canaanites and the Perizzites. But Adonai Bezek fled, and they pursued him and caught him and cut off his thumbs and big toes. And Adonai Bezek said, 70 sovereigns with their thumbs and big toes cut off used to gather under my table. As I have done, so Elohim has repaid me. And they brought him to Jerusalem, and he died there. And the children of Yehuda fight against Jerusalem and captured it, and struck it with the edge of the sword, and set the city on fire. And afterward the children of Yehuda went down to fight against the Canaanites who dwelt in the mountains in the south and in the low country, and Yehuda went against the Canaanites who dwelt in Hebron. Now the name of Hebron was formerly Kirjath Arba, and they struck Sheshai and Achiman and Talmai, and from there they went against the inhabitants of Debir. Now the name of Debir was formerly Kirjath Sefer. And Caleb said, "He who smites Kirjath Sefer and shall capture it, to him I shall give my daughter Aksah as wife." And Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's youngest brother, captured it, and he gave him his daughter Aksah as wife. And it came to be, when she came in, that she urged him to ask her father for a field. And when she got off from her donkey, Caleb said to her, "What is the matter?" And she said to him, "Give me a blessing, since you have given me the land in the south. Give me also springs of water." So Caleb gave her the upper springs and the lower springs. And the children of the Canaanite, father-in-law of Moshe, went up from the city of the palms with the children of Yehuda into the wilderness of Yehuda, which is in the Negeb of Arad, and they went and dwelt among the people. And Yehuda went with Shimon his brother, and they struck the Canaanites who inhabited Sephath, and put it under the bands. So the name of the city was called Hormah. And Yehuda captured Azah. Yehuda captured Azah and its border, and Ashkelon and its border, and Ekron and its border. And Yahweh was with Yehuda. So they took possession of the mountains, but they were unable to drive out the inhabitants of the plain, because they had chariots of iron. And they gave Hebron to Caleb, as Moshe had said. And they drove out from there the 3 sons of Anak. However, the children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites who inhabited Jerusalem. So the Jebusites have dwelt with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem to this day. And the house of Joseph also went up against Bethel, and Yahweh was with them. And the house of Joseph, and the house of Joseph sent men to spy out Bethel. Now the name of the city was formerly Luz, and the watchmen saw a man coming out of the city, and they said to him, "Please show us the entrance to the city, and we shall show you love and commitment." So he showed them the entrance to the city, and they struck the city with the edge of the sword, but the man and all his clan they let go. And the man went to the land of the Hittites and built a city and called its name Luz, which is its name to this day. And Manasseh did not dispossess Beth Shean and its villages, nor Tanakh and its villages, nor the inhabitants of Dor and its villages, nor the inhabitants of Yibleam and its villages, nor the inhabitants of Megiddo and its villages, for the Canaanites desired to dwell in that land. And it came to be, when Israel was strong, that they put the Canaanites into compulsory labor, but it did not completely drive them out. Neither did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites who dwelt in Gezer, so the Canaanites dwelt in their midst in Gezer. Neither did Zebulun drive out the inhabitants of Kitron, or the inhabitants of Nahalol, so the Canaanites dwelt in their midst and became a compulsory labor. Neither did Asher drive out the inhabitants of Akko, nor the inhabitants of Sidon, nor of Alab, nor of Akzib, nor of Helbah, nor of Ephik, nor of Rehob. So the Asherites dwelt in the midst of the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land, because they did not drive them out. Neither did Naphtali drive out the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh, nor the inhabitants of Beth Anath, but they dwelt among the Canaanites, and the inhabitants of the land, and the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh and of Beth Anath became compulsory labor for them. And the Amorites pressed the children of Dan into the mountains, and they would not allow them to come down to the valley. And the Amorites desired to dwell in the Mount Heres, in Ayalon and Sha'albim. But when the hand of the house of Joseph came stronger, they became compulsory labor. And the border of the Amorites was from the ascent of Akrabim, from Selah and upward. And the messenger of Yahweh came up from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I led you up from Mitzrayim and brought you to the land of which I swore to your fathers, and I said, I do not break my covenant with you. And as for you, do not make a covenant with the inhabitants of this land. Break down their slaughter places. But you have not obeyed my voice. What is this you have done? Therefore I also said to you, I am not driving them out from before you, and they shall be adversaries to you, and their mighty ones shall be a snare to you. And it came to be, when the messenger of Yahweh spoke these words to all the children of Israel, that the people lifted up their voice and wept. So they called the name of that place Bochim, and slaughtered there to Yahweh. Then Yehoshua dismissed the people, and the children of Israel went to each his own inheritance to possess the land, and the people served Yahweh all the days of Yehoshua, and all the days of the elders, and all the days of the elders who outlived Yehoshua, who had seen all the great works of Yahweh which he had done for Israel. I didn't mention we were in chapter 2 now, in verse 8. And Yehoshua son of Nun, the servant of Yahweh, died 110 years old, and they buried him within the border of his inheritance at Timnath Heres, in the mountains of Ephraim, on the north side of Mount Gaash. And all the generation were likewise gathered to their fathers, and another generation arose after them who did not know, nor Yahweh, did not know Yahweh, nor the work which he had done for Israel. And the children of Israel did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, and served the Baals, and forsook Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, who had brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim, and went after other mighty ones of the people who were all around them, and they bowed down to them and provoked Yahweh. So they forsook Yahweh and served Baal, and the Ashtoreths. Ashtoreths, there we go. And the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Israel, therefore he gave them into the hands of the plunderers who despoiled them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies all around, and they were unable to stand before their enemies any longer. Wherever they went out, the hand of Yahweh was against them for evil, as Yahweh had spoken, and as Yahweh had sworn to them, and they were distressed greatly. Then Yahweh raised up rulers who saved them from the hand of those who plundered them. However, they did not listen to their rulers either, but went whoring after mighty ones and bowed down to them. And they soon turned aside from the way in which their fathers walked, in obeying the commands of Yahweh. They did not do so. And when Yahweh raised up rulers for them, Yahweh was with the ruler and saved them from the hand of their enemies all the days of the ruler, for Yahweh had compassion on their groaning because of those who oppressed them and crushed them. And it came to be, when the ruler was dead, that they would turn back and do more corruptly than their fathers, to go after other mighty ones, to serve them and bow down to them, and they did not refrain from their practices and from their stubborn way. And the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Israel, and he said, because this nation has transgressed my covenant that I commanded their fathers, and has not obeyed my voice, I also shall no longer drive out before them any of the nations which Joshua left when he died, in order to try Israel by them, whether they would guard the way of Yahweh to walk in them as their fathers guarded them or not. So Yahweh left those nations without driving them out at once, and did not give them into the hand of Joshua. Chapter 3. And these are the nations which Yahweh left to try Israel by them, all those who had not known all the battles in Canaan. Only the generations of the children of Israel might know, to teach them battle. Only those who before did not know them. 5 princes of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites, who dwelt in the mountains who dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon to the entrance of Hamath. And they were to try Israel by them, and know whether they would obey the commands of Yahweh, which he had commanded their fathers by the hand of Moshe. Thus the children of Israel dwelt in the midst of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and they served their mighty ones. And thus the children of Israel did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, and forgot Yahweh their Elohim, and served the Baals, and the Asherahs. And the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan Rishathaim, sovereign of Aram Naharaim. And the children of Israel served Cushan Rishathaim 8 years. And when the children of Israel cried out to Yahweh, Yahweh raised up a Savior for the children of Israel, who saved them, Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. And the Spirit of Yahweh came upon him, and he ruled Israel and went out to battle. And Yahweh gave into his hand Cushan Rishathaim, sovereign of Aram Naharaim. And his hand prevailed over Cushan Rishathaim, and the land had rest for 40 years. Then Othniel, son of Kenaz, died. And the children of Israel again did evil in the eyes of Yahweh. And Yahweh made Eglon, sovereign of Moab, strong against Israel, because they had done evil in the eyes of Yahweh. And he gathered to himself the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and struck Israel. And they took possession of the city of palms. And the children of Israel served Eglon, sovereign of Moab, 18 years. And when the children of Israel cried out to Yahweh, Yahweh raised up a savior for them, Ehud, son of Gera, a Benjamite, a man impeded in his right hand, and by him the children of Israel sent a present to Eglon, sovereign of Moab, and Ehud made himself a sword. It was a double-edged and a cubit in length, and girded it under his long robe on his right thigh. And he brought the present to Eglon, sovereign of Moab. Now Eglon was a very fat man. And it came to be that when he had finished bringing near the present, that he sent away the people bearing the present, but he himself turned back from the stone images that were at Gilgal, and said, I have a secret message for you, O sovereign. And he said, Be silent. And all those standing beside him went out from him. And Ehud came to him while he was sitting in his cool roof room. And Ehud said, I have a message from Elohim for you. So he rose from his seat, and Ehud reached out his left hand and took the sword from his right thigh and thrust it into his stomach. And the handle went in after the blade, and the fat closed over the blade, for he did not draw the sword out of his stomach, and it came out behind. Then Ehud went out to the porch and shut the doors of the upper room behind him and locked them. And when he had gone out, his servants came to look and saw the doors of the roof room were locked. So they said, He is only covering his feet in the cool roof room. And they waited until they were ashamed, but saw he was not opening the doors of the upper room. So they took the key and opened them, and saw their masters fallen to the ground dead. But while they were delaying, Ehud escaped, and had passed beyond the stone images, and escaped to Syria. And it came to be, when he arrived, that he blew the shofar on the mountains of Ephraim, and the children of Israel went down with him from the mountains, with him leading them. And he said to them, Follow me, for Yahweh has given your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. And they went down after him, and took the fords of the Jordan, leading to Moab, and did not allow anyone to pass over. And they struck about 10,000 men of Moab at that time, all robust, brave men, and not a man escaped. On that day Moab was humbled under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest for 80 years. And after him was Shamgar, son of Anath, and he struck 600 men of the Philistines with an ox goad. He too saved Israel. All right, chapter 4. And when Ehud was dead, the children of Israel again did evil in the eyes of Yahweh. Therefore Yahweh sold them into the hand of Jabin, sovereign of Canaan, who reigned in Hatzor, and the commander of his army was Sisera, who was dwelling in Harosheth Hagoyim. And the children of Israel cried out to Yahweh, because he had 900 chariots of iron, and for 20 years he harshly oppressed the children of Israel. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, was ruling Israel at the time, and she was dwelling under the palm of Deborah between Ramah and Beth El in the mountains of Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for right ruling, and she sent and called for Barak, son of Abinoam, from Kadesh in Naphtali, and said to him, Has not Yahweh Elohim of Israel commanded, Go, and you shall draw towards Mount Tabor, and shall take with you 10,000 men of the sons of Naphtali and of the sons of Zebulun, and I shall draw unto you Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his company at the Wadi Kishon, and shall give him into your hand. And Barak said to her, If you go with me, then I shall go. But if you do not go with me, then I do not go. And she said, I shall certainly go with you. Only there shall be no esteem for you in the journey you are taking, for Yahweh is going to sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. So Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and he went up 10,000 men under his command, and Deborah went with him. And Heber, the Kenite, of the children of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moshe, had separated himself from the Kenites, and pitched his tent near the terebinth tree at Sa'anaim, which is beside Kadesh. And they reported to Sisera that Barak, son of Abinoam, had gone up to Mount Tabor. So Sisera called all his chariots, 900 chariots of iron, and all the people who were with him, from Harosheth Hagoyim to the Wadi Kishon. And Deborah said to Barak, Rise up, for this is the day in which Yahweh has given Sisera into your hand. Has not Yahweh gone up before you? And Barak went down from the Mount Tabor with 10,000 men after him. And Yahweh destroyed Sisera and all his chariots and all his army with the edge of the sword before Barak. And Sisera leaped from his chariot and fled away on foot. But Barak pursued the chariots and the army as far as Harosheth Hagoyim, and all the army of Sisera fell by the edge of the sword. Not one was left. Sisera, meanwhile, had fled on foot to the tent of Yael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. For there was peace between Jabin, sovereign of Hatzor, and the house of Heber the Kenite. And Yael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, Turn aside, my master. Turn aside to me, do not fear. So he turned aside with her into the tent, and she covered him with a blanket. And he said to her, Please give me a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. So she opened a bottle of milk and gave him a drink and covered him. And he said to her, Stand at the door of the tent. It shall be, if anyone comes here and asks you and says, Is there a man here? You shall say, No. But Yael, Heber's wife, took a tent bag and a hammer in her hand, and went softly to him and drove the peg into the side of his head, and went down into the ground, for he was fast asleep and exhausted, and he died. And see, Barak pursued Sisera, as Barak pursued Sisera, Yael came out to meet him and said to him, Come, let me show you a man whom you are seeking. And when he went into the tent, there lay Sisera dead with a peg in the side of his head. And on that day Elohim humbled Jabin, sovereign of Canaan, in the presence of the children of Israel. And the hand of the children of Israel grew stronger and stronger against Jabin, sovereign of Canaan, until they had cut off Jabin, sovereign of Canaan. All right, that's Judges 1 through 4. Shalom.